Tonight, President-elect Trump's unprecedented promise for mass deportations. Trump vows day one to declare a national emergency in order to enlist the military to operate in American cities, towns, and streets. How he plans to also reinstate his first-term border policies, including remain in Mexico and the Muslim ban. Plus,
just to be clear, both of your clients testified that they were paid by Representative Gates to have sex.
That's correct.
New reporting on President-elect Trump's Attorney General nominee Matt Gaetz. A lawyer for two women tells ABC News his clients testified to the House Ethics Committee that Gaetz paid them for sex. One claims she also saw him having sex with a minor. Gaetz has denied all wrongdoing. And
بجد شعور صعب جدا جدا انه انت ما ترجعش على بيتك ولا على ارضك. احنا هنا يعني هنا دوب الواحد من الضيق والخنقه وكثره من الناس بيصير كل يوم مشاكل وكل يوم ضرب ومشاكل وقتل.
Tens of thousands forced to flee North Gaza after a new ground offensive by the IDF. Some fear they may never be allowed to return home. And now, some Israelis, including members of the current government, believe it's their right to replace them and reintroduce controversial settlements into the Gaza Strip. Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're following those stories and much more, including the fast-moving developments around President-elect Trump's transition back to the White House. Early this morning, Trump responded to a post on Truth Social, confirming he is preparing to declare a national emergency and conduct a mass deportation program using military assets. We'll have much more on that in a moment. But first, we're following those bombshell accusations. For the first time, we're learning what two women told the House Ethics Committee about Trump's AG nominee Matt Gaetz. They claim that he paid them for sex, and there are receipts. In less than 48 hours, the House Ethics Committee is expected to potentially vote on whether to release findings into their investigation of Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. The committee has been investigating allegations Gaetz may have engaged in sexual misconduct with a minor, in addition to illicit drug use. And tonight, a growing number of senators say they must see the House Ethics Committee report. But sources tell ABC News Trump himself has called some senators to pressure them to vote for Gaetz. We're following it all tonight, and I'm joined now by my colleague, Nightline co-anchor Juju Chang. And Juju, you have this hot interview with the attorney representing the accusers.
Absolutely. The two women who were subpoenaed by the congressional hearing on the Ethics Committee, and they were compelled to testify. They didn't want to come forward, according to their attorney, but it was a wide-ranging interview. And so I sat down with this attorney, Joel Leopard, who's representing these two women, both adults, who told the House Ethics Committee that Gaetz paid them for sex and that they attended multiple drug-fueled sex parties with Gaetz. One claims she was even witnessed Gaetz having sex with her 17-year-old friend at a house party in Florida.
At this particular event, what did your client witness?
So she testified in July of 2017 at this house party. She was walking out to the pool area, and she looked to her right, and she saw Representative Gaetz having sex with her friend, who was 17.
Do you know how many times, how many parties your clients went to and had sex with Representative Gaetz?
Well, not all of them were parties. So some of them were events, such as they attended election events, like at hotels. They went with him to New York for a taping on Fox News. But approximately perhaps 10 times, 10 to 15 times, I think, was the testimony about the number of times they might have had sex with Representative Gaetz.
How would you characterize these events?
So they were events that were more drugs and sex-oriented events, which was typically a small group of individuals, 5 or 10, and they got together to party, to take drugs and have sex, essentially. And there were other events that took place at hotel rooms. There were, and have smaller meetups. There were events at different individuals' houses. So, there were trips, such as to the Bahamas or to New York. So you can't characterize them as just one type of thing, but those are the types of situations that took place over 2017, 18, and in January of 2019. They testified that they met up with Matt Gaetz in New York in January of 2019 for his appearance on Fox News.
Met up with or traveled with, do you know?
So Mr. Gaetz paid them for the tickets to come to New York for the trip. He was there with another female individual already. And so they went to Broadway shows and things like that and met him, went to the Fox News studio, I believe, and they went to Broadway shows while they're there.
What show did they see? I'm just curious now.
Pretty Woman.
About a sex worker?
I had not even thought about that.
Interesting. They testified in front of the House Ethics Committee, and what was that like for them? What was that experience like for them?
Well, they've done this a number of times, so most of it was matter of fact, but at times it was tearful. It was difficult. So each time they have had to relive the experience, it's been kind of, in a sense, reopening the old wounds. That means having to talk to me, prepare the testimony, prepare timelines, and essentially once they're done for one round of investigations, they do their best to forget it. And in the meantime, they're actually going through counseling paid for still by the FBI. My clients have been receiving counseling services paid for by the FBI for years.
Again, the House Ethics Committee is set to meet on Wednesday to decide whether to release their report on Gates or not. And of course, a growing number of Senate Republicans say they need this information as part of their confirmation process. And of course, Gates has long denied any and all of these wrongdoing allegations, Lindsay.
And of course, many are saying that if it's not released, it'll likely be leaked. And so it seems that one way or another, we may find out the details of that report.
On Wednesday.
All right, Juju Chang for us. Thanks so much, Juju.
Of course.
Tonight, President-elect Trump has confirmed his plan to declare a national emergency when he takes office to use the U.S. military to conduct mass deportations. Meanwhile, another cabinet nomination for Trump. We'll have reporting on Trump's pick for Secretary of Transportation in a moment. ABC's Mary Bruce has all the details from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Tonight, President-elect Donald Trump confirming once he takes office, he will declare a national emergency and use the military to help carry out his plans for mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. Today, his new pick for border czar, Tom Homan, saying criminals will be the first to go.
We'll prioritize public safety threats and national security threats because they pose the biggest danger to the United States.
Homan says he's heading down to Mar-a-Lago this week to put the, quote, final touches on a plan, but acknowledges there are many unanswered questions about how Trump's policy will actually work, including how much it will cost.
So I've been asked 1,000 times, how many people can you remove the first year? Well, how many agents do I have? How many buses do I have? How much money do I have for airplanes, right? Can DOD assist? Because DOD can take off our plate. So there's a lot of what ifs. I don't know what the current budget is right now. I don't have insight on what currently ICE and CBP has for budget. How much money can be reprogrammed? I can tell you this, President Trump's committed to whatever he can to get us the money we need.
As Trump works to launch his top policy goal, he's also fighting to get his controversial cabinet choices confirmed. In addition to the firestorm surrounding his attorney general pick, Matt Gaetz, there are growing questions about his choice for defense secretary, Fox News host Pete Hegseth. Hegseth's attorney now acknowledges he paid a financial settlement to a woman who accused him of sexual assault in 2017. Hegseth's lawyer says the encounter with the woman was actually consensual, but that Hegseth paid her anyway because he believed, quote, any public accusation would result in his immediate termination from Fox. Sources say Trump was only made aware of the incident after he had already named Hegseth to lead the Pentagon. And tonight, his team saying Hegseth has vigorously denied any and all accusations and no charges were filed. We look forward to his confirmation. Over the weekend, the president-elect out surrounded by members of his new team at an Ultimate Fighting Championship event, including his pick for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, billionaire Elon Musk, who's been tasked to lead a new Department of Government Efficiency, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who Trump has tapped to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy, who has railed against processed foods and criticized Trump's diet, seen in this photo enjoying a meal of McDonald's on the plane with the president-elect. Leading health experts continue to sound the alarm about Kennedy and his deep skepticism of vaccinations. Today, Caroline Kennedy, daughter of former President John F. Kennedy, calling her cousin's stance dangerous.
I think Bobby Kennedy's views on vaccines are dangerous, but I don't think that most Americans share them. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Mary Bruce joins us now. And Mary, late today, the president-elect announced a new nominee. Tell us about his pick.
He has named Sean Duffy, the former Wisconsin congressman and Fox News host, to be transportation secretary. And tonight, Lindsay, Donald Trump is standing by his controversial picks, undeterred by all of these growing concerns. So the question remains, will they get enough support in the Senate to actually be confirmed? Or is Donald Trump going to urge Republican lawmakers and those in the Senate to waive and forego their vetting responsibility so that he can get this done through those recess appointments. The one thing there is no doubt about, Linsey, Senate Republicans tonight are under a lot of pressure. Linsey.
That is certainly the case. All right, Mary Bruce for us in West Palm Beach, Florida. Thanks so much, Mary. Back now to immigration and the sweeping policy changes promised by the incoming Trump administration. For that, we want to bring in Lee Galern, a lawyer at the ACLU and deputy director of the Immigrants' Rights Project there. Thank you so much for joining us. As a civil rights attorney, you've argued some of the highest profile immigration cases in the nation, including to stop the separation of families. During Trump's first administration, Trump's policy called zero tolerance mandated that parents who cross the southern border illegally with children had to be separated from their children until legal proceedings concluded. From a legal perspective, how are you preparing for the next Trump administration?
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're expecting it to be worse, quite frankly, and we have been preparing since the winter time with multiple lawyers at the ACLU National Office focusing specifically on immigration. We're under no illusions that this is going to be easy. It's going to be difficult in the courts. And the one thing I would say is not only do we have to go to court, but we're going to need a national pushback like we saw with family separation. I mean, one of the things we learned in family separation is that although many people wanted to see immigration reform, there were limits to what they would allow in their name. And they did not want little babies being ripped apart. And I think if we see the military in the streets, like Trump is promising now, or more family separation, I think the American people will push back.
He's already posted, at least on social media, saying that the military will be involved. So what would be your reaction if the military is involved on day 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, so he's talking about using what's called the Alien Enemies Act, which dates back all the way to 1798. If he uses the military under that act to try and do deportations, we think it's flatly illegal. That act applies whether it's a foreign government and an invasion or a declared war. That's why it's only been used a few times in our history.
Today, our Kira Phillips spoke to Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs about working with the incoming Trump administration. Let's take a listen.
What would worry you the most, Governor, about mass deportations?
We saw that under previous state policies here, and it harms communities. It tears families apart, and that's not gonna happen on my watch.
How do you foresee this playing out in border states like in Arizona, for example, as state leaders in the Trump administration form border policy?
We're hearing from some people in the Trump transition team that they're only going to go after hardened criminals and national security threats. And that's one thing. But then we're hearing from lots of other people that it is going to really be mass deportation. They're going to go after people without criminal convictions, parents, grandparents who have U.S. citizen children. And so I think that will be extremely ugly. And the governor's right. It will reorient priorities. It'll take law enforcement away from really solving serious crimes. It'll create fear in neighborhoods when it doesn't have to. And I also think the business community is going to need to push back, because I don't know a single economist who thinks we can have mass deportations and not hurt our economy.
Gallup polling from before the election indicated the majority of Americans are in favor of curbing immigration, and in choosing Donald Trump as president, Americans have spoken. Is there anything you'd want Americans to know about the avenues the Trump administration is proposing?
I think what I would want the American people to do is to pay attention to what's actually happening, not just the sort of generalized slogans, but what's actually happening. And if they think it's wrong, to let the administration know. But they do need to pay attention to the human harm on the ground and really look to see whether that's what they voted for.
Do you have any idea about how many children still have not been reunited with their families?
Yeah, so we believe that there may still be 1,000 children who are separated from their parents, and that could be little children who have not seen their parents now for 6 years, who have basically grown up without their parents. I mean, the harm was so great, as you all covered, you know, and even for the families that are reunited, we're working with children, little children who stand by the window looking to see if men are going to come and take them away again, or scared to go to sleep at night because they think men are going to come and take them out of their bed. It was such unbelievable trauma, and the parents are also traumatized to such a great extent. The bond between the parent and child has been completely severed. And the first thing a lot of these children when they came back and said to their parents was, "Mommy, Daddy, why didn't you love me enough to keep me?" Not understanding, too young to understand that their parents couldn't stop it. It was the worst thing I have ever seen in my more than 3 decades doing this work.
Legal alert. We thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now to the elevated fire danger across the Northeast. Take a look at brand new video over Burlington County, New Jersey, where you can see the fire line getting closer to homes. About 20 structures are currently at risk. Less than 40 miles west of there, firefighters are battling another new fire in Lakewood, New Jersey, south of New York City. At least 30 acres are burning, and New York City is battling a record 271 brush fires in the first 2 weeks of this month. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg breaks down the drought warning that's currently in place. But first, ABC's Trevor Ault reports from the Jennings Creek fire again tonight.
Tonight, multiple new fires breaking out in the bone-dry Northeast.
We're just going to draw a line here between the two, about 700 feet separating those homes from those flames.
South of New York City, the so-called Country Club fire sparking up in Lakewood, New Jersey, quickly spreading to about 30 acres. At the same time, east of Hartford, Connecticut, firefighters battling to get a 26-acre fire under control there. And outside New York City, firefighters urge residents in more than 150 homes to evacuate near the Jennings Creek fire after it jumped containment lines over the weekend. And in Rockland County, New York, friends, family, and first responders gathering to honor 18-year-old Dariel Vasquez, who was killed while working the Jennings Creek fire November 9th. His aunt, Erica DeJesus, remembering him as someone who lifted others up.
Spoke to a couple of his co-workers, and they always said he was the person that they counted on. He was the person they wanted on their team when they needed him on day in and day out.
And Lindsay, the Jennings Creek fire has been burning here for more than a week. It is now 90% contained, but this is still an active firefight. It could continue burning for several weeks more. Lindsay?
Our thanks to Trevor Ault. Parts of Texas and Louisiana were put under a tornado watch, and that same system is heading to the drought-stricken Northeast. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our partner station in New York, WABC, is tracking it all for us. Hey, Lee.
All right, Lindsay, we have an active tornado warning across part of East Texas headed into Louisiana. It's near Newton, that's just east of Jasper, and that tornado-warned storm will head into Louisiana over the next hour or so. This is a big storm, or maybe even a pattern changer here for the eastern two-thirds of the country along the front. Big winds that get gusts over 50 miles an hour. Now, the severe threat isn't as high tomorrow, but the flash flood threat is real along the north-central Gulf Coast. New Orleans is in a flood watch. We can see 3 to 5 inches of rain in spots from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle, and even some heavy rain in the west side of Atlanta by morning, some heavy rain in Mobile, Alabama, too. To the north, this storm ultimately could bring the first soaking rain to the northeast since late September. It's going to take a little while to come together, but late Wednesday night into Thursday morning, get some drenching downpours right in New York City just prior to daybreak, hoping for at least a half-inch of rainfall, but some areas, especially just north of New York City, you get 1 to 2 inches of rain. Some of that rain could even mix with snow as we go into Thursday and Friday. It's a tiny dent in the drought, but it certainly will lower the fire risk. Lindsay?
All right, well, that's some good news, at least. Lee Goldberg, our thanks to you. The family of a Maryland second grader is demanding answers from her son's elementary school after he was allegedly hung on a hook of a bathroom stall door by another student. The school district says they're aware of the incident and they're conducting an investigation. This after the school principal characterized it as, quote, horseplay, end quote. His parents say the second grader was found unconscious, foaming from the mouth, and has severe bruising on his neck and face, but that he is now recovering. Now to that disturbing story, the deadly police shooting in Las Vegas. A man who called for help was then killed by police in his own home with his 15-year-old daughter in the house. He called 911 to report 2 people who fired into his home. The video captured the moments. Officers arrived at Brandon Durham's home. Then they kicked down the front door, heard screams, and found Durham wrestling over a knife with someone. One officer fired 6 rounds, killing the homeowner. The other person was uninjured. That officer is on administrative leave tonight. And joining us now for more is Brandon Durham's wife, Rachel, and the family attorney, Lee Merritt. I want to thank you both so much for joining us, and Rachel especially extend our condolences and thoughts and prayers to you and your family. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us tonight. Now, I understand you weren't at home at the time, but your daughter was. Just give us an understanding of what happened that night.
I don't have any answers for what happened that night. I really don't.
What has your daughter told you?
That she heard a bunch of noise, that she took the dog, our dog Lola, into their bedroom and locked it because her dad told her to go in her room and lock the door and call the police. And I know that he was in that room locked too because I looked at the door, the bedroom door, and the knob is kicked off and the door is obviously been kicked in.
And so just from my own understanding, the suspect, according to witnesses in the room, your daughter, I guess, for one, says that a suspect has a knife to Brandon, her father, and yet the police come in and shoot her father. Is that accurate?
That's what happened, and it's really, it goes against logic because we know that her father made the phone call to 911 using his daughter's phone, and then he gave a description of himself. Police knew that there was a male and his daughter in the apartment, and they were taking cover or waiting for police to arrive. They knew that the intruders had breached and that their job was to get in there quickly and really come to the rescue of the person who made the call. We don't know how they fail to identify Mr. Durham, Brandon, who was calling for help at the time that they entered the building and who was in his underwear because the home was intruded in the middle of the night. We don't know how they made the mistake of identifying him as the perpetrator as opposed to the victim.
And I also want to say that when he turned the corner down our hallway, the officer, Brandon said, "Help me." He was screaming it. Like a screaming, crying, begging for help. He said, "Help me." And as soon as he finished that, he was shot. The officer didn't even say, "It makes no sense. It makes no sense."
And Rachel, what would you...
That's his last words.
What would you like to see happen now?
I want Alexander Bookman charged for murder. I want the Las Vegas Metro Police Department to take accountability for Alexander Bookman's actions. And there's no way they can make this right, but they can admit the wrongs that they did.
Lee, is it your understanding that the suspect knew Brandon?
We know that there was at least one previous encounter with this same suspect at the address where police were involved. At the time, previous weeks to this actual shooting, the suspect was believed to be an invitee, someone that Brandon knew and invited into his home, but then refused to leave. And the police were contacted at that time. He was, to our understanding, issued a trespassing warrant and told not to return and was not in contact with Mr. Durham again until this incident in which police were called.
Talk to us about your husband, what kind of person he was like, what you would want people who never had the opportunity to meet him, what would you want them to know?
I want them to know that he was the life of the party. He was the shining light. He was our all-star. He was, and what I mean by that, he was the guy that once he got somewhere, he brought smiles to everybody's faces. And I truly mean that. I have so many videos of us on vacation with friends, out with friends. I have so many videos of us just having a great time. And with him, I always had a great time going out with him. And I want people to know that they took someone who should be here. He should be here. He should have been helped.
Well, again, our condolences to you and your daughter. And Rachel, we just thank you so much for taking the time. And Lee, really appreciate it. Thank you both.
Linsey. Take care.
Overseas tonight, President Biden is allowing Ukraine to strike inside Russia using U.S.-made long-range missiles for the first time. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell reports tonight from Ukraine.
Tonight, Russia accusing the U.S. of escalating tensions and throwing fuel on the fire as President Biden gives the green light to Ukraine to fire long-range American missiles on targets inside Russia.
We want to make sure that Ukraine is in the best position to protect its interests.
But it's Russia also escalating, with massive daily attacks against civilians and power plants across Ukraine. Those ballistic missiles, known as ATACMS, have a maximum range of 190 miles. But they've only been authorized to be used in Russia's Kursk region for now. Ukrainian soldiers seized territory there for leverage in truce talks. The U.S. move driven by Russia's decision to bring in thousands of North Korean soldiers to join the fight. It comes just 2 months before President-elect Trump takes office on a promise to end the war in 24 hours. Linsey, Ukraine's been asking for months to use these missiles. Now President Zelensky warning an attack could come and at any time. But Russia's saying that if that happens, the response will be tangible. Linsey?
Ian, thank you. Federal prosecutors are accusing music mogul Sean Diddy Combs of trying to influence witnesses and the jury pool from behind bars. They say Combs is using other inmates' phone accounts to contact people who are not on his approved list. At the same time, Combs has pleaded not guilty and is arguing that he can be trusted to get out of jail pending his trial. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has more.
Tonight, federal prosecutors accusing Sean Combs of relentless efforts to corrupt witness testimony and subvert his criminal case from behind bars. Almost immediately after arriving at the federal jail in Brooklyn, prosecutors say Combs started using telephone accounts of at least 8 other inmates to call people not on his approved contact list. Prosecutors alleging Combs frequently instructs family members and his attorneys to add other individuals via three-way call, which is not allowed. An October call made between Combs and one of his adult sons, prosecutors allege, provides the clear inference that the defendant's goal is to blackmail victims and witnesses either into silence or providing testimony helpful to his defense. And prosecutors say Combs is explicit about his intention to use public statements to sway potential jurors, including this Instagram post by his kids.
Happy birthday to Daddy.
Prosecutors say Combs enlisted family members to plan and execute a social media campaign around the defendant's birthday, the first time we heard his voice from behind bars.
Thank y'all for being by my side and supporting me.
Our thanks to Stephanie Ramos. Now to the deadly stabbing rampage here on the streets of Manhattan. A suspect is now in custody after allegedly stabbing 2 people to death and leaving a 3rd person fighting for her life in unprovoked attacks across the city. Ramon Rivera, 51, has been identified as the suspect, according to 2 New York City officials who say he has an extensive criminal history and suffers from mental health challenges. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is raising questions about why a suspect with 8 prior arrests was on the streets. Health officials at the CDC are warning of a deadly E. coli outbreak linked to organic carrots. The outbreak has been recorded across 18 states, killing at least 1 person and sickening many more. The organic carrots, which were sold under multiple brands at a number of retailers, should no longer be on store shelves after the company issued a voluntary recall. But officials warn if you have them in your kitchen, throw them out immediately. E. coli can lead to a potentially dangerous foodborne illness that can cause gastrointestinal issues and even kidney damage. Still much more to get to here on Prime tonight, including the case against Daniel Penny, the Marine veteran who says he put an out-of-control Jordan Neely in a chokehold to protect other subway riders. Jordan Neely died on that train, and on the stand today, a medical examiner says Penny went too far. But next, the fight for a homeland in North Gaza. 1.9 million people have been forcibly displaced from Gaza as of last month. That's according to the UN. And now some Israelis say they'll resettle what's left of this war-torn land they see as rightfully theirs.
But it is extremely dangerous in Gaza right now.
Well,
would you want to take your whole family in there?
Not all Gaza is dangerous, and I'm much more worried what will happen if we will not be there.
The ocean is my friend. It connects us.
This Thanksgiving, the biggest movie event of the year
Can I get a chee-hoo?
arrives in 3D.
This is bigger than all of us. Come on, let's go! Mommy and Moana, together again. You're so amazing.
Disney's Moana 2, rated PG. Only in theaters November 27th. The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia. In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London. From the front lines.
Off the coast of Gaza. Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
Hollywood Studios want us to make a movie of our podcast.
It's a fabulous cast.
Action. I'm nervous playing you. The fearlessness, the complexity.
Oh, stop. Unless you had more to say.
I don't need an algorithm to tell me that this is box office gold.
Only Murders in the Building, streaming on Hulu and for bundle subscribers on Disney+. Friday.
911, what's your emergency? I've been exhausted.
And then the line goes silent.
The all-new 2020.
At what point do you realize I might be dealing with a serial killer?
Friday night, The Detective and the Serial Killer.
They've been compared to Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter.
Hey, look at me. I need your help. How many are there? Whatever he did, I'm gonna get it.
All new 2020, Friday night on ABC.
3, 2, 1.
It's a 24/7 life together.
It's not about the fear or the risk. It's about the love of flying. 3, 2, 1.
Willis Wu.
You know my name? Oh.
For decades, Chinatown's been the epicenter of crime in the city. I need someone on the inside. Follow me.
Jeez. A detective and a waiter. Partners.
Freeze.
Solving cases, catching bad guys.
Can I place an order to go, please?
Well, close!
Welcome back, everyone. As the Israel-Hamas war rages on, more people are being pushed from their homes in North Gaza, fearful they may never return again. Now, a group of Israelis, including members of the current government, believe it's their right to replace them. Our Britt Clennett has that story in tonight's Prime Focus.
Building their huts, making their meals, praying. It's a makeshift community on Israeli soil, less than a mile from the Gaza border, with a setup they intend to recreate soon inside Gaza itself.
We are here now. We don't want to really be here. We want to be in there.
Amos Azaria is one of hundreds of Israelis from the far right who are actively aiming to settle permanently in Gaza. The UN says 90% of Palestinians have been displaced in Gaza since Hamas's deadly attack on October 7th. Amos and his group would like to replace them entirely. If you move in, where do they go?
This is our land. We're supposed to move in regardless of what they do. What's really supposed to be done with them is that they should go to anywhere in the world that supports them. Maybe there's an open...
For now, the group waits. The father of 7 adamant that they will get into Gaza one way or another. But it is extremely dangerous in Gaza right now.
Well,
Would you want to take your whole family in there?
Not all Gaza is dangerous, and I'm much, much more worried what will happen if we will not be there. Yeah, this is the kitchen. As you see, we have here water coming from up there. Right here, we have the solar panels. I don't know if you noticed, that give us electricity.
Right.
Powers the refrigerator.
It says it was donated by someone from California.
Yeah, that's right.
Israel used to have settlements in the north of the Gaza Strip. They disengaged in 2005, dismantling dozens of settlements and removing thousands of Israelis from Gazan territory. But now, Amos and his group have the endorsement from far-right members of the Israeli government. Just last month, far-right members of the Israeli government were involved in this gathering at the border.
אנחנו יכולים לחזור הביתה ואנחנו יכולים לעשות עוד דבר, לעודד הגירה. האמת היא שזה הפתרון הכי מוסרי, הכי נכון, לא בכפייה, אבל להגיד להם, אנחנו נותנים לכם את האפשרות, לכו מכאן לארצות אחרות, ארץ ישראל שלנו.
Across that border, flanked by IDF tanks, columns of displaced Gazans make their journey south. More than 50,000 forcibly evacuated since a renewed ground offensive began on October 1st, traveling on foot, carrying everything they have left. Just days ago, 26-year-old Uday Al-Tawan fled the urban refugee camp of Jabalia with his mother and sister.
أنا قررت إن أغادر شمال غزة ما ضلش إشي لا أكل ولا فلوس الواحد يجيب أكل ولا حياة ولا بيت ضل صالح الواحد يقعد فيه في قطاع غزة ولا بيت ضل الواحد يسكن فيه ولا مدارس اللواء أصلاً مدارس اللواء صار يتم استهدافها كل يومين ثلاثة ينزلوا مدرسة بجد شعور صعب جداً جداً إنه أنت ما ترجعش على بيتك ولا على أرضك إحنا هنا يعني هنا دوب الواحد من الضيق والخنقة وكترة إن الناس بصير كل يوم مشاكل وكل يوم ضرب ومشاكل وقتل يعني إحنا بدنا نرجع على بلادنا بأي وسيلة.
Displacement, he says, means he now relies on the mercy of others.
كله انحرق ما ضلش ولا حاجة زي هيك يعني أنا إلي 3 أيام عيان من يوم ما جيت عيان من السقعة والبرد اللي هنا يعني إحنا على البحر هنا الريح بخبط خبط في الليل زي الثلج.
Israeli airstrikes have continued to pummel Gaza's north, where they say Hamas has regrouped. At least 93 killed in this strike on October 29th that flattened a 5-story building. Dead bodies lining the streets in the aftermath, 25 children amongst the dead. The target, the IDF told ABC News, was a man with binoculars. Only a trickle of aid has entered Gaza's north since the offensive began. The UN warning Israel's actions are aimed at creating conditions of life that are very likely to result in emptying North Gaza of its civilian Palestinian population by death or forcible transfer. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel does not plan to reoccupy the Gaza Strip, saying resettlement is off the table and unrealistic.
So, did you...
At a viewing point from their camp, Amos shows me where we can see Gaza in the distance. I ask him how it makes him feel every time he sees Gaza.
Basically, when we see Gaza, I see, okay, the Jews are supposed to be there, and we should act more so that the Jews return to their homeland. Again, it's essential to avoid any massacre like happened to us on October 7th.
So you see it and you see home?
Yeah.
What about when you see the bombing?
More often hear than see, but if it's us bombing them, I say, okay, good, the army is doing its job.
Until recently, the idea of Israelis living in Gaza seemed a world away. But with so much uncertainty about Israel's plan for the Strip, for some, resettlement is within their sights.
So much uncertainty. Our thanks to Britt Clennett for that. Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, the murder trial of Laken Riley resumes today. Officers recount seeing the nursing student's accused killer after she died and the wounds they found on his body. But next, the president-elect is moving quickly. The modern record he's setting as he rapidly staffs his government by the numbers.
How many elephants have you killed?
True natural beauty, one of the last of its kind. But this comes at a cost. 5 countries, 5 incredible real stories of adventure, danger,
We have to go.
and deceit. Where are we going next? We got this ongoing search for the animal we've been trying to find. These are the last lands. The national parks around the world that have to be saved.
There.
150 feet down in the dark, in the cold, with just a dwindling supply of oxygen.
An unbelievable mystery. How does the ultimate status symbol end up on the bottom of the sea? How could they be gone in 16 minutes?
It just doesn't happen.
Desperate efforts to find 6 missing people after a luxury yacht sank down to the sea floor.
We were just praying.
I think about the last few moments for them. It's terrifying.
Sinking of the super yacht, now streaming on Hulu.
What's up, Las Vegas? How you feeling?
It's amazing.
Why are so many of country music's biggest stars now racing to Vegas?
Make some noise for some boozy!
It's just an electric town.
It's unlike anything else.
Why should what happens in Vegas just stay here?
What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas this time.
That's next level.
Here we go.
It's Vegas.
Vegas lights and country nights. Countdown to the CMA Awards.
Tuesday night on
ABC.
And stream on Hulu.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia. In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London. From the front lines.
Off the coast of Gaza. Wherever the story is,
We're going to take you there.
You're streaming.
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
The ocean is my friend. It connects us.
This Thanksgiving, the biggest movie event of the year.
Can I get a chee-hoo?
Arrives in 3D.
This is bigger than all of us. Come on, let's go! Maui and Moana, together again. You're so amazing.
Disney's Moana 2, rated PG. Only in theaters November 27th.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story.
As news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live.
Right there. As events unfold across the day, breaking down the day's top stories. ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
Reporting from Dallas, Texas on Election Day, I'm John Quinones. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. President-elect Trump is announcing his picks for cabinet posts and other top White House jobs at a record pace. We'll give you the lineup in tonight's By the Numbers. In less than 2 weeks since winning the election, Trump has nominated roughly 30 people to various cabinet and senior White House positions. 4 of them, including Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, and Michael Waltz, are currently in Congress and will need to resign their offices in order to take up executive branch positions. Matt Gaetz, nominated for Attorney General, resigned from Congress last week. 2 governors have been nominated as well. Kristi Noem of South Dakota for Secretary of Homeland Security and Doug Burgum of North Dakota for Interior Secretary. In a mere 11 days, Trump announced 12 nominations to cabinet-level posts. In comparison, it took almost 40 days for Presidents Obama and Biden to make that many nominations. Trump has demanded Republican senators allow him to make recess appointments. For that process to start, the Senate must now be in recess for at least 10 days. It's been that way since a 2014 Supreme Court ruling. And as we've reported, many Republicans, including some senators, are concerned some of Trump's picks will not be able to get through Senate confirmation hearings, hence the need for potential recess appointments. And we still have much more ahead here on Prime. Forget the halftime show at the Super Bowl. The NFL has big designs for one of its games on Christmas Day. The superstar will be giving America a big Christmas gift. Plus, they catapulted onto the music scene and are hoping fans join them once again. Our conversation with Eslabon Armado.
Did you kill Mariota?
Sorry. No, I did not kill Mariota. So it was a normal day until Mary started getting sick. No one really knew what was happening. Her eyes just looked terrified.
In less than 48 hours, my mom went from her healthy self to having died.
This is a mystery. How did she die?
They begin to do this autopsy.
It's just screaming, toxin, toxin, toxin.
Did somebody intentionally do this to her?
When the test came back, I thought, yo, holy, are you kidding me?
I had dated Adam. I was scared of him. It changed the way I see the world.
She was really afraid for her life.
I do think Bill could have killed Mary. His wife died in July, and in November, he was dating his sister-in-law.
There was nothing in the world that was making sense at that point.
Caitlin Conley was guilty as sin.
Are you okay?
I'm scared.
This girl thought she was smarter than everybody else. But there's another side to Caitlin Conley.
Well, I'm not buying this little Miss Innocent game.
Sequoia's a very small town. Everybody knows everybody.
My garden club is very divided. People think she's innocent. I think she's guilty.
Never heard of a case like this. Maybe a thriller.
It was pure evil.
We weren't quite sure what was coming next. I know it wasn't me. Sorry. So, if it wasn't me, who was it?
Little Miss Innocent. Passion, poison, prison. Only on Hulu.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live. Breaking news, exclusives, live reporting across the globe. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
America's #1 most-watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first. I love it. I'm there for it.
Hot topics, political views.
That's what we're about.
Voices that matter. It all goes down right here.
That's why it's called the what?
The View.
I love it. I'm all in. Second that. This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen.
The ongoing impacts of devastating Hurricane Helene on a city's water system. A trial resumes in the case of slain 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. And the moment heroic officers in Phoenix jump into action. These stories and much more in tonight's rundown.
Quick-thinking officers jumped into action to save a driver who had accidentally accelerated into a pool. Video from the scene showing an officer smashing the window of the submerged vehicle and pulling the man out to safety. Officers confirmed no one else was in the car at the time of the incident. The man was taken to a local hospital to be evaluated. Prosecutors with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office are expected to rest their case Monday against Daniel Penny, the Marine veteran who is charged with manslaughter and negligent homicide in the chokehold death of a homeless man aboard a New York City subway car. He demonstrated the chokehold to an officer during an interrogation after the incident. Penny has pleaded not guilty. The defense is expected to shift the focus of the case from Penny to Neely, who had prior arrests, a history of mental illness, and drugs in his system. In body cam footage played in court, police questioned the man accused of killing Laken Riley about multiple scratches on his arms a day after 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley was found murdered on a college campus. Officers testifying in the case said his skin looked like it was scratched by fingernails. Prosecutors entered into evidence on Monday photos of the suspect's scratches on his arms and bruising on his palm. The suspect, who is an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela, has pleaded not guilty to all charges, including malice murder and felony murder. Beyonce fans are getting a huge Christmas gift this year, a live performance from Queen Bee herself. The singer will perform during halftime of the Baltimore Ravens versus Houston Texans game on Christmas Day. It's part of Netflix's first ever NFL Christmas Game Day. The event coming on the heels of the streaming giant's foray into live events with the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight on Friday night. The broadcast experienced some technical glitches, leaving people to wonder if Netflix was really ready for prime time. A scary near miss caught on camera. A drunk driver heading the wrong way down a lane closed for construction nearly hit a worker on the road before slamming into a truck nearby. Officials say the driver fled the scene but was later caught by Ohio State Highway Patrol and taken to a nearby hospital. More than 100,000 residents in western North Carolina were allowed to drink and bathe using water from their home faucets on Monday, nearly 2 months after Hurricane Helene destroyed much of the local water system. Officials saying flooding from the storm damaged the local infrastructure and a boil water order was protectively in place. A deadly hurricane killed over 200 people in multiple states and hit western North Carolina.
They struck gold with their hit song Ella Baila Sola, and now the group Eslabon Armado is hoping their new album can bring that same magic to their fans. Our Gio Benitez sat down with the young men for a conversation about music, life, and family.
Eslabon Armado, you guys are crushing it right now. What's it like for you now? Because this is something where it just seems like there's been a lot of work that was put into this, but it just feels like you just took off.
It changed since 2020 when COVID happened and like all the pandemic. I was a senior and it was my last year of high school, and I kind of promised myself if music was like the thing for me to like give me a sign from God. Like I told him like, please give me a sign if music's for me. If not, I'll just work at something else. I'll do something else. So it was my second semester, and I decided to write some music. I wrote a whole album out of nowhere, and then I released it by myself and just blew up after that.
Incredible. So this all happened because your dad suggested it?
Because my dad suggested it. My dad always told my mom that ever since I picked up the guitar, he's always told her that, oh, like, que un día te va a comprar una casa, que, you know, he's gonna you know, do a lot of things for us. And like my dad just kind of saw the vision. My mom, she would always do the contracts, and since the day she still does it. So
it's very much a family business.
Yeah, family business.
Eslabon Armado, the name itself, link chain. Is that a good translation?
Yeah, link chain.
Why is that name so important to you?
Well, basically, each one of us is an Eslabon. Eslabon Armado, it's a link chain, so we're basically just all form a part of a chain, like a family. Yeah, because, I mean, initially, it was just us as a family, us 5, and then Damien, Ulises, and then our Chris. It's just, like, it's a small group of people, but it's just super close, and we do a lot of stuff that people can't imagine.
#1 hot Latin song of the year on Billboard, the most streamed Latin song of 2023 on Spotify. It's incredible what this did for Música Mexicana.
We talked about it the other day that we've never seen an original Mexican song that has over 1 billion streams. So that's like a goal, man. That's a whole achievement that I've never seen it, and thank God, you know, that happened and it's there, man.
And this also wouldn't have happened because of your parents.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, here is this really quintessential American story where you all were born here, but then you have your parents who were immigrants.
Yeah.
And still, you have this incredible life now.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think about a lot?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's something that I think not a lot of people see, but I think our parents, they always push us to like not be better, but like to like, you know, to do good. We're super grateful because my mom, she taught us a lot about life. My dad too. So I'm so grateful that I still have him with me.
What is your hope with this new album and this new music that you're about to release?
I'm putting all my energy I have and all my hard work in there. I'm telling you, each album just keeps on getting better and better. So this album is kind of like and you know, just let it all out.
Yeah.
Yep.
For me, it's kind of exactly what he said. It's kind of like taking weight off my chest.
Yep.
Just for personal reasons, but I also hope that it reaches like a new audience. I know Ella Baila Sola was like really worldwide, but I hope at least one song, like, you know, we always want to surpass the song that made us hit. So hopefully there's a song or two there that people really like, and yeah, hopefully surpasses Ella Baila Sola.
Well, not just a song or two. Let's get them to like the whole album.
Like Brian said, it reaches new audiences, especially in you know, people that are just starting to listen into this genre, like, you know, the more, you know, minor side. It feels really good because we usually have pictures after our events. So like their parents come with them and they're like, hey, it feels really good that my kid is starting to speak Spanish because of you guys. Like, it's an awesome feeling.
Like the guy said, it's gonna be a good sigh of relief to get this album and to see what songs they liked, to see any arrangements that they spotted, like the musician audience. That's like my favorite part for sure.
What's your message for other young people who are watching this and they may say, listen, I have big dreams too. I want to do big things just like they are.
And having your family by your side, having God there, and just being a good kid and doing what you need to do in life. Just always believe in yourself too, and yeah, man. I don't know what else to say.
What would your advice be?
Kind of what he said about the family part. I think your parents always know what's best for you. Just always stay united, always have your feet in the ground, never like elevate yourself from spots that you want to be at, but just gotta stay humble, I guess you can say. But yeah, pretty much that. Just always believe in yourself and do what you want to do.
For me, I think is being consistent and don't lose that interest in that music that you want to do. I feel like a lot of people lose that interest and they're like, oh, it's too hard. But if you keep pushing, I'm telling you, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. But yeah, just keep that interest and don't let that love spark out.
Like the guy said, family, keep your family by your side. I think your relationship with your family will go well into what you do and express your creativity, you know. I think expressing your creative side in this work is what makes the difference, you know, originality, and just be consistent, like Lisa said, you know, and it'll definitely all work out.
Especially if your family is doing the contracts. Especially.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Un placer. Un placer. Thank you. Thank you.
Our thanks to Gio Benitez for that conversation. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Coming up in the next hour, fuel to the fire, an escalation in tension with Russia and the Kremlin's warning to the United States. Plus, the bombshell accusations that U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz engaged in sexual misconduct with a minor as Trump picks him for Attorney General.
What's up, Las Vegas? How you feeling?
It's amazing.
Why are so many of country music's biggest stars now racing to Vegas?
Make some noise for some boozy!
It's just an electric town.
It's unlike anything else. Why should what happens in Vegas just stay here?
What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas this time.
That's next level. Here we go.
It's Vegas.
Vegas lights and country nights. Countdown to the CMA Awards.
Tuesday night on
ABC.
And stream on Hulu.
A Hollywood studio want us to make a movie of our podcast.
It's a fabulous cast.
Action. I'm nervous playing you. The fearlessness, the complexity.
Oh, stop. Unless you had more to say.
I don't need an algorithm to tell me that this is box office gold.
Only Murders in the Building, streaming on Hulu, and for bundle subscribers on Disney+.
Hey, good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Are you ready? They are ready. Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going on here this morning.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too. I'll be here.
I am here and so happy. I'm in. I'm in too.
Michael, George, Claire, Ginger.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
Hurricane Helene screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story. As news breaks live.
ABC News Live is there for you all morning live. Right there. As events unfold across the day, breaking down the day's top stories.
ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
And ABC News Live lighting up the weekend.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
They were 150 feet down, in the dark, in the cold, with just a dwindling supply of oxygen.
An unbelievable mystery. How does the ultimate status symbol end up on the bottom of the sea? How could they be gone in 16 minutes?
It just doesn't happen.
Desperate efforts to find 6 missing people after a luxury yacht sank 160 feet down to the sea floor.
A search and rescue effort continues for passengers on board a 180-foot boat sinking during a severe storm off Sicily.
We were just praying.
It's given birth to countless conspiracy theories.
There is a sort of Titanic quality about it.
7 people missing in the wreckage, 160 feet below the surface.
I think about the last few moments for them on the ship all the time. It's haunting. It's terrifying.
Gone in 16 minutes. Sinking of the super yacht. Now streaming on Hulu.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. This is ABC News Live Prime. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We have a lot of news to get to this evening, including President-elect Trump's unprecedented promise for mass deportations. Trump vows day one to declare a national emergency in order to enlist the military, including remain in Mexico and the Muslim ban. Plus, several new wildfires erupt in the Northeast, threatening at least 20 structures just south of New York City. The city's mayor is now declaring the first drought emergency in more than 20 years. And Jaleel White on his journey as an actor and comedian and becoming the face of a classic sitcom. But we do begin with those bombshell accusations. For the first time, we're learning what 2 women told the House Ethics Committee about Trump's AG nominee, Matt Gaetz. They claim he paid them for sex, and there are receipts. In less than 48 hours, the House Ethics Committee is expected to potentially vote on whether to release findings into their investigation of Florida Representative Matt Gaetz. The committee has been investigating allegations that Gaetz may have engaged in sexual misconduct with a minor and illicit drug use. Tonight, a growing number of senators say they must see the House Ethics Committee report, but sources tell ABC News Trump himself has called some senators to pressure them to vote for Gaetz. We're following it all tonight. We begin with our Nightline co-anchor, Juju Chang.
Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing what 2 young women say they told the House Ethics Committee about President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, former Congressman Matt Gaetz. The lawyer for the women telling me his clients testified Gaetz gave them money for sex, and there are receipts.
Just to be clear, both of your clients testified that they were paid by Representative Gaetz to have sex.
That's correct. The House was very clear about that and went through each. They essentially put the Venmo payments on the screen and asked about them, and my clients repeatedly testified, what was this payment for? Well, that was for sex.
The lawyer telling me one of those women testified she also saw Gaetz having sex with a 17-year-old girl.
So at this particular event, what did your client witness?
She testified in July of 2017 at this house party. She was walking out to the pool area, and she looked to her right, and she saw Representative Gaetz having sex with her friend, who was 17.
Sources tell ABC News that girl, who is now in her 20s, also testified in the investigation. Gaetz has denied all wrongdoing.
I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false.
The House Ethics Committee was poised to release its report last week, but then Trump announced Gaetz as his pick for Attorney General, and Gaetz abruptly resigned from Congress. With that, the investigation was closed. House Speaker Mike Johnson has urged the committee to keep its report under wraps.
I believe it is very important to maintain the House's tradition of not issuing ethics reports on people who are no longer members of Congress. I think it would open Pandora's box.
But tonight, a growing number of Republican senators, including Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, say they need to see the House report as part of the confirmation process.
Absolutely, and I believe the Senate should have access to that. Now, should it be released to the public or not? That's I guess that will be part of the negotiations, but that should be definitely part of our decision making.
Mullin, who once served with Gaetz in the House, has described how the former congressman used to brag about women.
We had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with.
Tonight, the president-elect standing by Matt Gaetz. A spokesman for the transition saying Matt Gaetz will be the Attorney General. He's the right man for the job and will end the weaponization of our justice system. These are baseless allegations intended to derail the second Trump administration.
Our thanks to Juju Chang. Tonight, President-elect Trump has confirmed his plan to declare a national emergency once he takes office to use the U.S. military to conduct mass deportations. Meanwhile, another cabinet nomination for Trump, this time Congressman Sean Duffy of Wisconsin for Secretary of Transportation. ABC's Mary Bruce has the latest from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Tonight, President-elect Donald Trump confirming once he takes office, he will declare a national emergency and use the military to help carry out his plans for mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. Today, his new pick for border czar, Tom Homan, saying criminals will be the first to go.
We'll prioritize public safety threats and national security threats because they pose the biggest danger to the United States.
Homan says he's heading down to Mar-a-Lago this week to put the, quote, final touches on a plan, but acknowledges there are many unanswered questions about how Trump's policy will actually work, including how much it will cost.
So I've been asked 1,000 times, how many people can you remove the first year? Well, how many agents do I have? How many buses do I have? How much money do I have for airplanes, right? Can DOD assist? Because DOD can take off our plate. So there's a lot of what ifs. I don't know what the current budget is right now. I don't have insight on what currently ICE and CBP has for budget. How much money can be reprogrammed? I can tell you this, President Trump's committed to whatever he can to get us the money we need.
As Trump works to launch his top policy goal, he's also fighting to get his controversial cabinet choices confirmed. In addition to the firestorm surrounding his attorney general pick, Matt Gaetz, there are growing questions about his choice for defense secretary, Fox News host Pete Hegseth. Hegseth's attorney now acknowledges he paid a financial settlement to a woman who accused him of sexual assault in 2017. Hegseth's lawyer says the encounter with the woman was actually consensual, but that Hegseth paid her anyway because he believed, quote, any public accusation would result in his immediate termination from Fox. Sources say Trump was only made aware of the incident after he had already named Hegseth to lead the Pentagon. And tonight, his team saying Hegseth has vigorously denied any and all accusations and no charges were filed. We look forward to his confirmation. Over the weekend, the president-elect out surrounded by members of his new team at an Ultimate Fighting Championship event, including his pick for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, billionaire Elon Musk, who's been tasked to lead a new Department of Government Efficiency, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who Trump has tapped to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy, who has railed against processed foods and criticized Trump's diet, seen in this photo enjoying a meal of McDonald's on the plane with the president-elect. Leading health experts continue to sound the alarm about Kennedy and his deep skepticism of vaccinations. Today, Caroline Kennedy, daughter of former President John F. Kennedy, calling her cousin's stance dangerous.
I think Bobby Kennedy's views on vaccines are dangerous, but I don't think that most Americans share them. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Our thanks to Mary Bruce. Now to the elevated fire danger across the Northeast. Take a look at a brand new video over Burlington County, New Jersey, where you can see the fire line getting closer and closer to those homes. Less than 40 miles west of there, firefighters are battling another new fire in Lakewood, New Jersey, south of New York City. At least 30 acres are burning, and New York City is battling a record 271 brush fires in the first 2 weeks of this month. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg breaks down the drought warning now in place. But first, ABC's Trevor Ault reports from the Jennings Creek fire once again tonight.
Tonight, multiple new fires breaking out in the bone-dry Northeast.
We're just going to draw a line here between the two, about 700 feet separating those homes from those flames.
South of New York City, the so-called Country Club fire sparking up in Lakewood, New Jersey, quickly spreading to about 30 acres. At the same time, east of Hartford, Connecticut, firefighters battling to get a 26-acre fire under control there. And outside New York City, firefighters urged residents in more than 150 homes to evacuate near the Jennings Creek fire after it jumped containment lines over the weekend. And in Rockland County, New York, friends, family, and first responders gathering to honor 18-year-old Dariel Vasquez, who was killed while working the Jennings Creek fire November 9th. His aunt, Erica DeJesus, remembering him as someone who lifted others up.
I spoke to a couple of his co-workers, and they always said he was the person that they counted on. He was the person they wanted on their team when they needed him on day in and day out.
Our thanks to Trevor Ault. Parts of Texas and Louisiana were put under a tornado watch, and that same system is heading to the drought-stricken Northeast. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our partner station in New York, WABC, is tracking it all for us. Hey, Lee.
All right, Lindsay, we have an active tornado warning across part of East Texas headed into Louisiana. It's near Newton, that's just east of Jasper, and that tornado-warned storm will head into Louisiana over the next hour or so. This is a big storm, or maybe even a pattern changer here for the eastern two-thirds of the country along the front. Big winds that get gusts over 50 miles an hour. Now, the severe threat isn't as high tomorrow, but the flash flood threat is real along the north-central Gulf Coast. New Orleans is in a flood watch. We can see 3 to 5 inches of rain in spots from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle, and even some heavy rain in the west side of Atlanta by morning, some heavy rain in Mobile, Alabama, too. To the north, this storm ultimately could bring the first soaking rain to the northeast since late September. It's going to take a little while to come together, but late Wednesday night into Thursday morning, get some drenching downpours right in New York City just prior to daybreak, hoping for at least a half-inch of rainfall, but some areas, especially just north of New York City, you get 1 to 2 inches of rain. Some of that rain could even mix with snow as we go into Thursday and Friday. It's a tiny dent in the drought, but it certainly will lower the fire risk. Lindsay?
All right, well, that's some good news, at least. Lee Goldberg, our thanks to you. Prosecutors with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office are expected to rest their case in the deadly subway chokehold trial here in New York. Over the last 2 weeks, prosecutors presented testimony against Marine veteran Daniel Penny. He's charged with manslaughter and negligent homicide after being accused of killing Jordan Neely with a chokehold, claiming Neely was yelling and threatening passengers. The jury saw video of Penny demonstrating the chokehold during an interview inside a police precinct, demonstrating how he applied the nearly 6-minute chokehold, claiming Neely threatened to kill everybody. Neely's family says he suffered from mental illness. He faces up to 15 years in prison if he's convicted. The defense is expected to shift the focus of the case from Penny to Neal, who had prior arrests and a history of mental illness as well as drugs in his system. Federal prosecutors are accusing Sean Diddy Combs of tampering with witnesses and tainting the jury pool from jail. They claim he used other inmates' phone accounts to contact witnesses through third parties and orchestrated social media campaigns, including a birthday post by his children to sway jurors. Notes from his cell also allegedly link him to witness payoffs. Combs' defense calls these claims unfounded, and a hearing is scheduled for Friday. Combs has been held since his September arrest on charges that he coerced and abused women for years. Still more to get to tonight. Coming up, the brazen Windsor Palace robbery and the newest project for an actor and comedian that's been captivating audiences for decades.
How many elephants have you killed?
True natural beauty, one of the last of its kind. But this comes at a cost. 5 countries, 5 incredible real stories of adventure, danger,
We have to go.
and deceit. Where are we going next? We got this ongoing search for the animal we've been trying to find. These are the last lands. The national parks around the world that have to be saved.
The ocean is my friend. It connects us.
This Thanksgiving, the biggest movie event of the year.
Can I get a chee-hoo?
Arrives in 3D.
This is bigger than all of us. Come on, let's go! Maui and Moana, together again. You're so amazing.
Disney's Moana 2, rated PG. Only in theaters November 27th.
This ship is heaven. There should be no guilt on a pleasure cruise. Doctor, it's your job to keep everybody alive.
No pulse. She's in VFib. 1, 2, 3. Clear.
I have a pulse.
You're gonna be okay.
Reporting from Atlanta on Election Day, I'm Steve Osunsami. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. We're tracking several headlines around the world. The smog in India's capital of New Delhi is so bad, flights, schools, and more were canceled today. The toxic smog is 50 times the World Health's recommended daily maximum. Air pollution rises every year in the winter as farmers burn crops, and the smoke is then blown into cities where auto emissions further exacerbate the problem. Several studies have estimated more than 1 million Indians die each year from pollution-related diseases. President Biden has given the green light to Ukraine to fire long-range American missiles on targets inside Russia. The U.S. move is driven by Russia's decision to bring in thousands of North Korean soldiers to join the fight. It comes just 2 months before President-elect Trump takes office on a promise to end the war in 24 hours. Ukraine's been asking for months to use these missiles, and tonight, President Zelensky warns an attack could come at any time. A major security breach at Windsor Castle, the home of Prince William, Princess Catherine, and their children. The Sun reports masked men scaled the perimeter of the royals' estate. Police tell ABC News that they received a burglary report last month. The suspect stole a pickup and a quad bike and managed to get away. The family likely was asleep at the time. Buckingham Palace says it does not comment on security issues. Our next guest is an actor, comedian, and cultural icon who's been entertaining audiences for decades with roles in hit movies like Big Fat Liar and voicing timeless characters such as Sonic the Hedgehog. But he first captured hearts as the lovable and hilarious Steve Urkel on the hit sitcom Family Matters and quickly became the face of the series. Let's take a look.
Want to hear my impression of a chicken yodeling?
No.
Bok, 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 dele, Did I do that?
Jaleel White joins us now in studio now as he steps into a new chapter with his memoir, Growing Up Urkel. Welcome to the show, Mr. White.
How you doing, Linsey?
I cannot complain. Talk to me about why you decided, you know what, now's the time to write a book.
You know what? People think that that would be my decision entirely. No, it's just timing. That's it. You know, there was an editor at Simon & Schuster that's part of the generation that's really kept me alive. A lot of millennials grew up on my stuff. And he really wanted people to understand some of the nuances of my actual childhood. And as I started writing down some things that equated to a proposal, I really started to see a roadmap to a book. And it just made sense. And I was like, man, let me get this out. Get this out.
This initially caught my attention when it says, does it bother you when people call you Urkel? And it sounds like it depends on in the context, right? Of course. And so give us a sense of when it's okay.
You know, if I come across a Southern grandmother and she sees me and goes, oh, baby, it's Urkel, it's not a big deal. Yeah. You know, if you're in a bar, you're on a beautiful date with your lady, and somebody wants to come over and do an impersonation as a 50-year-old man, it's like, brother, this really ain't the time. Right. And so I hear people's tone very acutely whenever they reference me or the character or even the show in any way.
What was it about Urkel? For example, reading the book, you find out he was actually just supposed to be on one show, guest appearance on one show, ends up being a fixture for 9 seasons. Yeah. What was it about you or the character that just had such staying power?
You know, the thing that I never really understood about the character until I became an adult myself, started going to Comic-Cons, and we all just started getting older, is how many people out there who wore glasses, particularly black boys, but not exclusive to black boys, you know, they were called Urkel. They were in any roasting session at school, and you know, in social groups, and somehow the character became a symbol for people surviving awkwardness. And so I talk about that really in depth in the book, how I met these people and came face to face, and also Jaleel as a kid I was going through my own awkwardness growing up playing that character. I was attending public school, and most people have no idea I attended actual public school throughout the entire run of that show.
Played on the basketball team.
I played on the basketball team. It did not go as dreamed. I did not get the big D1 scholarship. I barely got in the game.
You are now doing a game show, Flipside. Tell us about the show.
I love being a game show host. I really do. I think it plays to my strongest suit, and that's just the ability to connect with people that I've just met and understand their background background and lead them through the questions and ultimately lead them to that bonus round to get that $10,000.
So give us an example, flip side.
Well, you know, we ask one question to two different people. We'll ask flight attendants, we'll ask passengers, we'll ask doctors, we'll ask patients. And then we move on to a third round that's my favorite, that's this or that. And that's as simple as Chick-fil-A versus Popeyes, waffle cut or truffle. And whoever gets the most, gets the most. The bonus round's my favorite also, because we ask one question with 10 possible answers. You got to pick the top 5 that were polled and $10,000 if you get them correct.
Okay, I'm the truffle girl. I like the truffle fries.
Yeah. But does the nation like truffle?
Well, that's what you got to figure out, I guess, right? Jaleel White, what a pleasure to have you on the show. Growing Up Urkel will be available wherever books are sold starting tomorrow, and check your local listings for Flipside. And still to come, our conversation with that viral yodeler, Mason Ramsey. You want to stick around for this.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia. In downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
ABC News Live everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Here in London. From the front lines.
Off the coast of Gaza.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live, streaming free everywhere.
They were 150 feet down, in the dark, in the cold, with just a dwindling supply of oxygen.
An unbelievable mystery. How does the ultimate status symbol end up on the bottom of the sea? How could they be gone in 16 minutes?
It just doesn't happen.
Desperate efforts to find 6 missing people after a luxury yacht sank 160 feet down to the sea floor.
A search and rescue effort continues for passengers on board a 180-foot boat sinking during a severe storm off Sicily.
We were just praying. It's given birth to countless conspiracy theories. There is a sort of Titanic quality about it.
7 people missing in the wreckage, 160 feet below the surface.
I think about the last few moments for them on the ship all the time. It's haunting. It's terrifying.
Gone in 16 minutes. Sinking of the super yacht. Now streaming on Hulu.
What's up, Las Vegas? How you feeling?
It's amazing.
Why are so many of country music's biggest stars now racing to Vegas?
Make some noise! Bust your balls in!
It's just an electric town.
It's unlike anything else. Why should what happens in Vegas just stay here?
What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas this time.
That's next level.
Here we go.
It's Vegas.
Vegas lights and country nights. Countdown to the CMA Awards.
Tuesday night on
ABC.
and stream on Hulu.
It's a country coming of age for crooner Mason Ramsey. The now 18-year-old singer is showing off his old school style with his debut full-length album, I'll See You in My Dreams. A long way from the viral video that made him famous of the then 11-year-old Mason yodeling in a Walmart. We had a chance to sit down with Mason to talk about growth, first loves, and finding your roots. So, Mason, thank you so much for talking with us. How did you go, the transition from viral sensation to recording artist?
Well, I just mainly like to do music, and I've been doing it since I was the age of 3, and I've just stuck to doing what I love to do, and that's to sing and make music. Whenever I first got started in the music industry almost 7 years ago, I really didn't think of things kicking off as fame, more so just to be doing what I love to do, make music and sing. And that's kind of how I've navigated it.
From those early years singing in Walmart, would you ever have expected that now you'd have this solo career?
I've dreamed about it. I never thought, that it would be possible. But it turns out that it was very possible. And it was in the moment that, that you least expect it to happen is when it happens.
Give us a sense of the genesis behind I'll See You in My Dreams, as far as your own personal story, how that fits into the album.
The main point of this album was to signify my sound and what I was going for, style of music and stuff. I really didn't know what the plan was earlier this year until I put out a song, Blue Over You.
I wouldn't be
which went viral for me, and that just kind of answered my questions on what style of music I want to do, and also what the fans, you know, like. I'll See You in My Dreams. I wrote most of this album about a girl that I was hanging out with during the springtime and in the summer, and the song just talks about me and this girl hanging out together during the day, and then at night when it's time for her to go home and for me to go home, I'll go home, go to sleep, and then I will dream about her. I'll see you in my dreams.
Does she know that it's about her?
Yes, yes.
How did she react?
She was crying, and tears of joy. It's kind of strange too, because it was just kind of like I told her out of the blue, and she wasn't expecting what I was about to tell her, and it was just, yeah, it was a great moment.
I gotta ask, Mason, are you guys still together?
No, we broke up a few weeks ago.
Okay, well, I guess that's the genesis of a lot of country music is the breakups. I'm sure a good song is going to come out of that as well. What's the future for you?
I like to be doing stadium tours. I'd like to be maybe doing stuff overseas. Really, anything. I think I just want to be one of the biggest artists in the world.
How do you decipher what is your authentic voice, and also the music industry, what it wants you to be and sound like, and how are you able to kind of stay true to yourself in that?
As you know, my music is much different than what you hear on typical radio nowadays. It's not the same country music. I wouldn't consider myself pop country. I wouldn't consider myself country. I wouldn't consider myself really any sort of specific genre. I would consider myself to be an artist. And the reason is because I like all sorts of music, and you can hear that in my album. Now, I wanted to do something different than what's being played on radio, because I feel like it's kind of had the same sound for the past 15 to 20 years, and I just wanted to do something different and something that people could also relate to.
Do you have pinch me moments that, you know, you're here all the way performing now in New York City from the days in the Walmart in Illinois?
I mean, I definitely think about my past a lot. I think back to how incredible it was, just how lucky I was during that moment to get to, you know, be recorded on that specific song and then it just go viral on someone's Facebook.
That is such a beautiful dream.
I think that, you know, just looking back and thinking about it, I think that's just a really cool moment.
Mason, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Really
I appreciate
the time and conversation.
Thank you so much.
Our thanks to Mason for that conversation. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Here in London, in Buffalo,